Yo, it's Jazzy Black. I'm super excited because it is the first day of Earth Month. And how lucky am I to be kicking back with the CEO of Earthx. We have Mr. Peter Simek in the building. What's up, Pete?
Hey, Jazzy. Thanks for having me.
Does anybody call you that, Pete?
What's that, Pete? Sometimes. Depends. Yeah,
Depends.
when I was
They
growing
know
up,
you.
Pete, yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Okay, so let's get into it. Texas is at the center of global energy right now, conservation, with all that's going down here in Dallas. Excited to have you here for Earthx. Let's talk about what's going on with Earthx2026. I've been able to volunteer with Earthx for a few years over at the convention center, and just off of my own personal experiences, I have never seen anything like this before. So I'm excited to get more fresh faces in there, just get people excited for especially what that means here in the DFW. For people that have never heard about Earthx before, what is this conference and why should people care?
All right. Well, I think we should care because everyone cares about the planet. We all share it. We all want clean air, clean water. And what Earthx tries to do is bring people from really around the world to Texas to have a different kind of conversation about the environment. When we have like business leaders, we have policy leaders, we have people working in corporate sustainability. We also have, all your NGOs and advocates and activists that are all trying to, and we try to find and create a space where we can have conversations and find our common ground and kind of work through these problems together, because we don't need to be polarized about the environment or get tied up in sort of political division, because we all need to protect the future of our planet.
Right. And I feel like for common folk that are just going on throughout their daily lives, survival is usually the first thing that comes to mind, and not necessarily what's going on in their own backyard or necessarily with the planet in general. So why do you feel like an event like Earthx is important for people to attend, just so they can start being a part of the conversation and learning what's really going on? And these are issues that really do impact their daily lives.
100%. And that's kind of what we're sort of designed to do. I mean, the environment can sometimes see like a secondary or third concern when you're talking about, how do I get my kids' education? How do we put food on the table? But really, these things are all connected. How we put food on the table is connected to environmental impact. Having, building up our economy is connected to, how do we make sure that growth isn't endangering our planet? And so those are the kinds of conversations we have. How do we look at these things through the lens of, say, sports? We're working with FIFA to do like a whole sports and sustainability conference, because the way you can address sustainability through sports makes it make sense and more tangible to a lot more people who are engaged in those issues. And so we try to find these other ways of getting into the conversation where it's not just about conservation or tree hugging or anything like that. It's really about, we acknowledge that the environment should be a consideration in all the choices that we make.
Right. That part. I know Texas is leading the energy conversation right now, and I feel like the only time that it comes up is when we have power outages or something that's dealing with like oil and gas, and it affects the gas prices. But outside of that, people don't really take time to just like get under the surface. But now I feel like we're talking like energy transition. What do you think that looks like here in Texas?
Well, it's, that's a great point. I think right now, especially with like gas prices going up because everything that's happening around the world, suddenly it's like, wait, people clue into it again because it does hit their daily life. But I mean, the energy transition in Texas is interesting because we're the leading producer of renewable energy. And it's not because, there's a lot of environmentalists who really want to push that kind of climate transition. It's because it makes sense and there's an economic argument to be made. So really having that mix of energy is important to be able to make the market more resilient and resistant to things like, the oil supply out of the Middle East is contained. Well, if we had more clean energy like nuclear powering the grid, that would affect us less. So there is sometimes it's a bit more of a long-term kind of view or a big more of a macro view, but these energy conversations can kind of help soften the blow of any of these ups and downs for people down the road.
And I wanted to ask you about that because, in terms of nuclear energy, people hear that word and it's like, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Should people be scared, or do you feel like they should be excited about it?
It's a really contentious issue, and it has been for a long time. But I think what's lost in that conversation is, one, nuclear energy is different than nuclear weapons, and that there's a lot of technology, especially in the last several years, that's been advanced where it's a completely different sort of nuclear energy than the opening credits of The Simpsons. Like we're not talking about those crazy rosin meltdowns. I mean, there's a lot of technology that's driving a more adaptable, more modular approach to nuclear that could be a really interesting solution that could but a much more safe solution.
That's cool. Okay, I want to zoom in a little bit on North Texas, especially with air quality being a big deal here. We're consistently being ranked as one of the worst in the nation, which a lot of people don't know. We're just out here kind of driving around, and people are suffering, obviously the long-term effects of it with upper respiratory issues, asthma, and just all kinds of things. what is going to be being discussed at EarthX that could directly impact people that are dealing with it?
That's a great question. I think it's like you have to look at the problem from two different, perspectives. One is that immediate thing. I mean, when we're living in a city where we are breathing, our families are breathing dirty air, we need solutions to try to immediately reduce that pollution and even maybe take some of it out of the air. And so one of the events we have is a investment summit called the eCapital Summit, where we try to find investors and pair them with innovators that are developing technologies and businesses around coming up with solutions for issues like that.
That's cool.
So being able to find new ways to address that, but at the same time, it's a macro issue. I mean, we live in an urban environment that demands us driving cars around. So how can we drive innovation around how we build our cities, how we design our cities, so that maybe we're at least less reliant on gas-powered vehicles, and to what extent can we, augment that with electric cars and electric transportation that can at least make our air a little clearer. I think that issue often gets tied up in the climate conversation, which is important, but you're right, it's an immediate health need for cities that are dealing with these kinds of issues.
I was talking on air about Elon Musk choosing Dallas as one of 3 cities in the country to build these underground tunnels. I think there's already one that they kind of played with in Las Vegas, and just talking about, not only economically, but environmentally, what does that look like here in the city, especially in a neighborhood that I feel like has been marginalized, as in South Dallas, is in the hood. So people are like, well, what does this look like, for transition of people? It'll connect to a college that'll go into like a newer like entertainment district of sort. But, long term, we're like, what does that look like for the residents that live there, and like who gets access to this type of infrastructure? So I'm just excited to really learn a lot more at EarthX and just see like what can we do here at home. And just get people a little bit more excited to have those conversations, not just amongst our family, but with policymakers and things like that. What are some real solutions or innovations that are going to be coming out of Earthx 2026 that give you hope?
Well, I mentioned that eCapital Summit, and that's one of the things that gives me hope every year when we do this event, is you learn about all these incredible people from around the world that are developing really cool ways of solving these solutions. And then we're really focused on trying to also look at how we can inform policy around things like energy, and how can we use Texas as kind of like a lab for developing some new ideas that other states can come and adapt. So we're bringing in a lot of state legislators from around the country to kind of look at what Texas is doing with energy and see if there's ways that they can incorporate or learn from, and we can share ideas. And so I think trying to drive those sort of real actionable items forward, where we can really know that the event is not just getting together and talking about these things, but actually putting either dollars or ideas or passion or activism behind some of these solutions and pushing them.
Right. Who do you feel is not at the table yet, but needs to be?
Well, I think you talked about it. Like there's an immediate sort of connection to health, that the environment and a lot of these issues that are being talked about. And so like people, that often are involved in environmental issues, it's almost like a privilege. Like it's like, okay, and people who are, more talking about your sort of day-to-day, needs, it's not something they want to get involved with. But what we really want to drive home is like, we're trying to bring all these leaders from around the world to Dallas so that people here can actually engage with them and build their network and learn that they can have a voice. And when you sit in a room with someone who's a lawmaker, they listen to you. And so there's a way for, I think, getting a broader cross-section of the community kind of involved.
And in addition to people that maybe want to get involved, like on the activism side and even the policymaking side, this is something for the whole family to come out to. There's things that your kids can do and like all of that type of stuff. So let's talk about some of the experiences that are like available for the entire family to be a part of.
Definitely. I mean, this year, what's different than the last couple of years is we have a whole free component. So we'll have several conferences that are free, and then we'll have activations throughout. So we're working with a group of Rotary clubs from around the country, and they're showcasing 100 projects from 100 countries around the world that shows how, there are grassroots community actions that can be taken just to do things like clean up water, create more green space, and things like that. And that's cool too, because you'll be able to walk through that and see, in Thailand, a bunch of a community got together and did, X, Y, Z. And so it's a real showcase for ideas that hopefully inspire people to kind of make that same change in their own backyard.
Cool. Are they still going to do the art program? I know there was something for students to like enter into art contests and like are they going to be doing that this year?
Yeah, well, we are working with FIFA Dallas and the World Cup organizing committee, and they're doing kind of an art competition during the event. So
That's cool.
yeah, that's the Tuesday the 21st. And then on the
Nice.
22nd, there'll be a lot of sort of good family-oriented activities on Earth Day.
Nice. I'm going to be working with the city of Dallas for like an anti-vaping ordinance for the World
Nice.
Cup, because I'm like, we're going to have all these people here, and I hate those vapes so much. And I'm like, I just don't want to see those cartridges everywhere,
Right.
you know, and then them just inhaling them. Like, well, please stop. So, yeah. Okay. So be honest. What do you think is one environmental myth that people either here in Texas or just in general still believe?
A myth. That's a good one. Well, we talked about it a minute ago that nuclear energy is dangerous.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that that's something where, 20 years ago, there was a big divide in between people pushing for nuclear energy and environmentalists who are afraid of or concerned about security issues, about disaster issues, about waste issues. But so much of that has come so far and so long that even on the waste question, which has long been kind of a real challenge, there are ways to recycle and reuse and change it. So that's demystifying some of the concerns around nuclear, I think, could be huge for just cleaning up our power generation.
Okay, and like before we go, I want to play a quick game called Trash It or Transform It. And I'm going to name a few everyday items. And you tell me, do we toss it? Do we recycle it? Or
All right.
is there a better way to do something with it?
All right.
Okay, you ready?
Let's go.
All right, plastic water bottles,
Reuse it.
pizza box,
Recycle it.
old clothes,
Reuse, remake, give them away.
pass them down.
Pass them
What happened to
down.
hand-me-downs, man?
That's
People
right.
are too good for hand-me-downs in 2026. Batteries.
Batteries, you can recycle batteries.
You can recycle batteries?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
depending on the batteries, yeah.
Grocery bags.
Oh, just get a tote. Just
You
keep
know,
totes in your
put them
car.
up under the sink.
Yeah.
These are recipes that our grandparents bought us. Reuse those grocery bags. Well, thank you so much. Earthx 2026 is happening. Yeah. April 20th through the 22nd, right here in Dallas. If you care about the future of our city, if you care about your kids' future and your parents, our elderly, our pets, you will show up. Even check out some of these free events and, get involved. I always tell people, make yourself accountable for you and share that with the people around you. So
Love that.
thank you again so much, Peter Simek. This has
Thank
been
you.
cool.
Appreciate you. Earthx.org. You can find all the registration info there.
And you guys are on social media too, right?
That's right. Follow us at Earthx.org on Insta and Twitter and all those things.